Well, I wasn't expecting that from England, although I'm not quite sure what I was expecting, but there are some surprises on that team sheet. It's an interesting lineup for the team to face Wales, so let's get into it. Steve Borthwick has named his first squad for the World Cup warm-ups. The team gets announced on Monday, let's not forget. So what do we read into that when we look at this? And as you're just digesting the team, assuming you've probably seen it already, but if not, as you have a quick look, let me remind you, my name's Tim, this is Egg Chasers, and please hit subscribe and leave your comments. What do you make of this squad from Steve Borthwick? My initial thoughts were, this is a earn your spot squad. Very much changed up in the majority of positions. Quite a lot of inexperience and fresh blood, which I think is a good thing. And I suppose Steve Borthwick on Monday wants to be able to say to the players that don't make it, you've had a crack, and give the people who are still in the mix an opportunity to earn their squad spot. And there will be a few still available, I would think. So excited to see Tom Pearson on debut. What an absolute wrecking ball of a player he is. And I'm hoping he has a big showing wearing the 7 jersey in this one, in a back row with his new Northampton Saints teammate Lewis Ludlam on the other flank. That is a weird thing when you looked at the squads and you saw the new club names next to all the players, Dave Ribbons at Toulon and Henry Arundel at Racing 92 and the like. It's a bit of a shame, particularly in the case of London Irish. But anyway, that's a separate matter altogether. Tom Pearson on debut, Theo Dan and Tom Willis on debut from the bench as well. Excited to see them. Interesting to point out, there is no player from the Premiership final, Sale or Saracens, that are involved in the starting 15. As I say, strikes me very much as a backup squad. And with the exception of Ellis Genge, who captains the side at loosehead prop, and I think somewhere approaching half of the caps in that starting pack are Ellis Genge. That's how inexperienced the rest of the side are. So is Ellis Genge just a guiding hand there and in a leadership position just to help these young guys into it? I think that might be the case. I'm not reading anything into Ellis Genge being part of what I'm calling a backup at 15. And in the back line, Freddie Stewart as well. I was quite surprised to see him there in amongst those names. What do we read into that? It's quite an interesting one. I'll get onto that in a little bit. Stick a pin in that one. We'll talk about that in a minute. But another fact on the pack, and I mean Danny Kerr, great to see him, and particularly I think one of the features of this side that jumps straight off the page to me is the Harlequins 8, 9, 10. Alex Dombrandt can have no complaints if he doesn't perform in this England lineup, particularly with a much changed Wales team that they're going up against. This is a shot for Alex Dombrandt to show what he can do, and he's got that familiar 8, 9, 10 combination. Should bring out the best in all three players. Let's hope so. One fact on the pack, and again, this is like Wikipedia weights of players, which is notoriously bad. But if we just go on the listed weights of players as we understand them in what's listed recently, England have a heavier pack marginally than any side involved in the Rugby Championship last weekend. England have a heavier pack than Wales significantly, some like 5-6 kilos per man heavier. That's a big pack. That's big. And yet, quite mobile as well with George Martin, Tom Pearson. I quite like the look of it. But let me get on to what let me wildly speculate for a minute. And here's where I want you to leave your comments. Tell me what you think. So if what I'm looking at this squad and thinking is the 23, any guys that are not involved in this 23-man squad are either 100% in on the plane, definitely going to France in most cases, or they're out of the picture and not even got a hope of getting into the squad. I'm possibly putting, the only two names I'm putting in that second column are Ben Earl and Johnny May. I'm surprised that in what looks like a backup team, generally, no Ben Earl, no Johnny May. Does that mean they are cut completely? Now go with me on this one. If we're saying that if you're not involved in this squad, you are absolutely nailed on going to be in, then what 15 could we make, or 23-man squad even, or what squad could we make out of the players not involved in this team for Wales? Well, it looks like this. These are guys not involved in the 23 whatsoever. And it suddenly looks a little bit like a potential first team for England, doesn't it? With a couple of exceptions. I would say Ellis Genge, I think, has been included against Wales because he's in a leadership role and it's a relatively young pack. But if we just assumed for a minute, if you're not involved, you're in, you could make an England team that looks like this. Does that not have the feel, potentially, of a side that could take the field against Argentina? I would also say Freddie Steward at fullback. You would imagine he's going to be a nailed-on starter. But hey, who knows how they've been training? And maybe Steve Borthwick wants to evolve England's attack a little bit. And maybe for all his amazing stuff in the air, Freddie Steward is somewhat limited in attack. I'm not sure. But this is just a thought about the squad you could make with people not involved against Wales. And I'd maybe push this one on because, like I say, I think Ellis Genge is likely to be starting at loosehead. I think Courtney Lawes is likely to be starting in the back row, and Ollie Chesham, who's coming back from injury, I think possibly would be the front runner at lock, which would mean potentially you've got a choice between Curry and Willis, or you put Lawes on the bench. And then in the back line, Henry Arundel starting. It's interesting to see Max Malins on the wing against Wales. Does that mean he's dropped down the pecking order slightly? Possibly. And like I say, you've got to imagine that Freddie Steward would probably be the starting fullback with maybe Elliot Daly on the bench. This is me wildly speculating, like I say, but do you think there's any merit in what I'm saying? That the guys not involved against Wales could end up looking like an England starting team? And what do we read into what Steve Borthwick has picked for this game in Cardiff? Again, I'm making wild assumptions. Could be doing 2 + 2 = 5. By the way, I will be at Twickenham on Monday for the squad announcement. I'm going to be working there for TalkSport, so I'll be grabbing some interviews with coaches and players, but I'll be doing some videos from Twickenham itself when the team is announced, which I think is at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. Exciting times. It's really getting close. And so if you enjoy your rugby and if you appreciate the videos, please do hit subscribe and leave your comments. And I will see you on the next one.